What's up, passionate DJs, and welcome. Today we're talking about the Hercules Universal DJ. This is a great 2-channel controller for beginner DJs, which has a 3-band EQ, 16 performance pads, a whole slew of effects, sample and loop capability, and a couple of unique features that we're going to go over in this video. That's right, the Universal DJ is a great beginner controller by Hercules, which is a company that specializes in helping brand new DJs. The Universal DJ is advertised as one DJ controller, 3 modes, and is compatible with PC, Mac, Android, and iOS devices. It can even work via Bluetooth, so let's talk about these 3 modes. Mode 1 is a laptop mode, and it's your typical everyday DJ controller setup. You connect your controller to a laptop, and it gives you a tactile interface to interact with the DJ software. Mode 2 is Multiscreen Mode, and it's an interesting idea which uses both your laptop and a mobile device, and we'll come back to this in a moment. Mode 3 is Tablet Mode. Now this is where you connect your controller to a typical USB charger, they don't include one in the box, and connect it to a DJ app running on your tablet wirelessly via Bluetooth. Now, like other software developers in the DJ space, Hercules has both desktop and mobile versions of their software, called DJUCED, at least that's how I think you pronounce it, and the Universal DJ bridges that gap between these two software products, allowing you to decide how you'd like to use it, on a laptop, on a tablet, or on both at the same time. The controller seems well built. I gave my initial thoughts about the quality and feel during my unboxing video, and after spending some time with the device, I think it still holds up, so here's a reminder. Actually, it's heavier than I thought it would be. It's still pretty light. Of course, it's very plasticky. That's kind of what you expect at this price point. There's not a stitch of metal on here, I don't think. It's kind of thin form factor, and the way that it's molded here into this shape kind of gives it a rigid feel, which I kind of like. The button feel, pretty good. A little mushy. It's not clicky at all. Actually, all these buttons have pretty good feel. When I say they're mushy, I mean that they don't have a hard response like an Akai pad or something like that, but they don't click either. They're somewhere in between where they just kind of mush in. The knobs all feel really good, really solid. They're comparable to something like a Control S4. It has this really big browse knob in the middle, almost like the focus of this controller here. It's actually really nice, really firm and solid. While I wouldn't call this thing a tank, its thin, rigid structure serves it well, and I give it an 8.5 for quality. The Universal DJ is the exact right size for a 2-channel beginner DJ controller. It has a slim profile, making it easy to fit into any backpack or carrying bag, and I'm pretty happy with the overall layout and build quality. There's plenty of space for your fingers, and all of the controls are pretty responsive and heavy enough for the task at hand. The layout makes sense, and if you're wondering, it's mirrored, not symmetrical. Everything's pretty much where you'd want it to be, the pitch faders being the only thing that might be in a little bit unusual spot up there next to the mixer section. The jog wheels are touch sensitive, initiating vinyl emulation for scratching when you touch up at the top, and pitch bending when you touch the side. Now, one minor complaint, I did notice that the top of the jog wheel has this little ridge where it connects to the dial, and if you happen to grab it there expecting to scratch, it won't register properly and will only pitch bend. But once you get used to this, it's avoidable. It has a 1/4-inch headphones jack up front with push-button volume, which is kind of interesting. And around the back you get a mix out for connecting the speakers, an aux in for connecting an external source like a CD player or phone, a USB port, a Bluetooth pairing button, and a mode switch for switching modes. But yeah, the hardware checks out, and I give it an 8.5 for practicality. So let's talk about those controller modes 2 and 3. And here's where I'm going to start having some complaints. Now, right off the bat, I'm hesitant about Bluetooth in the DJ booth. Being sort of an IT guy, I have a lot of gadgets and gizmos, and I've always worked with these Bluetooth devices, even back before it was kind of popular and attached to everybody's phone and stuff. Bluetooth, in my experience, is very finicky. It's something that's existed for so many years that you'd think they would have this sorted out by now, but I'm constantly having trouble with these things. I have a Bluetooth speaker in my kitchen that I use just for listening to podcasts when I'm doing dishes and things like that, and it works pretty well, except for every now and then me or my wife will pull into the driveway and then it'll grab our phone and then suddenly we've lost the connection to that speaker. Or there's my car stereo where half the time it doesn't connect and sometimes it does, but then when it does connect to Bluetooth it doesn't show up on the display. It just seems like something that's never really had all of its issues sorted out for something that we use so much in our everyday lives. And so with that, I'm sort of hesitant to bring a wireless protocol like Bluetooth into the DJ booth when you're talking about doing something that's like a live performance. It just kind of makes me nervous. So with that in mind, let's move on. With the Universal DJ, everything actually worked fine initially. I downloaded 2 separate apps, Juiced Master and the Juiced app, which works for modes 2 and 3 respectively. When I paired the controller and pulled up the app, it all came up and worked fine. But somewhere along the line, I switched modes or devices and it stopped working, and boy did I have a hell of a time getting it going again. It seemed like no matter what I did, the controller just wouldn't pair with my tablet again. It just kept saying it wasn't supported. What are you talking about? I was just using it. So, being a good little IT geek, I power cycled everything and brought it up from scratch and had the same problem, over and over again. So I thought maybe it was a problem with my iPad. So I tried another device and sure enough, same problem. Alright, here we go again. Oh my god. Why? It was just working. Son of a bitch. It's like the controller was just refusing to be used. After I would try once, it would disappear from the Bluetooth devices list. Eventually I unplugged everything and just gave up. I went to bed, came out the next morning only to find the same problem happening. However, I found that if I started this whole process over, and I didn't try to help my mobile device along by manually pairing it with Bluetooth, it actually would come up on its own. Eventually I got it to connect again. It seems like going forward I should let it connect once and then just leave well enough alone. So, eventually I get it to connect, but then the sound would only come out of my iPad instead of the controller. I never did figure out why this happened. Why? Why is it coming out of the tablet? There's no reason. I also found out that the app would just generally get confused sometimes. What? That doesn't even make any sense. And there's definitely additional lag when working wirelessly. So Mode 3, the tablet mode, works okay sometimes, but either the software or the Bluetooth connection leaves something to be desired. Now, Mode 2 works in a similar way, but it works in conjunction with your laptop. So here's a few things that it can do. In portrait mode, I guess, since it won't let me rotate to landscape. It has a basic remote mode, which lets you play, pause, sync, and crossfade your tracks from the toilet while the party continues in the other room. The extender mode is probably what you'll be most interested in. This gives you access to an XY pad that allows you to control effects, has a section for looping, and even a sample deck which gives you a grid of 16 buttons to tap and trigger sounds. In fact, it actually came with a fun little trance demo that's set up just like a live remix deck. Here's me having a little bit of fun with that. help but notice that it just didn't hold time very well. The sync would just fall off over time. The clock or sync algorithm or something just doesn't seem as good as some other professional DJ software hanging around out there, if I'm being honest. So the selling point of this controller is its multi-mode capability, including the use of mobile devices, but honestly, I don't trust Bluetooth in the DJ booth, nor the robustness of these apps, and I would probably just opt to use it in the traditional laptop mode. Therefore, in the significance category, I'm giving it a 4. It doesn't bring much useful to the table, and its unique features are finicky at best. Which brings us to the value rating. It's only $200, and the build quality, the layout, the practicality, all that certainly reflects that price point. However, I don't find the wireless modes to be all that useful. I'd rather pay $50 less for the device. When you compare it to controllers in the same price segment, the Universal DJ is certainly not out of line, but you're also banking on the fact that you'll be willing to stick with the Hercules DJUCED app. This controller is aimed towards beginners, and the materials reflect this. Actually, when you first bring up the software, it holds your hand through not only using the program, but actually learning how to DJ overall. This is really great, but let's face it, nobody's sticking with the Hercules software for the long haul, at least in its current form. And this controller doesn't really give you anywhere to go after that. There's probably a reason that many smaller manufacturers pair up with specialized software companies like Virtual DJ or Algorithm. For value, I'll run it right down the middle with a 5. So that leaves us with the final category, fun factor. And yes, the Hercules Universal DJ is fun. It has basic effects, looping, and sampling capabilities, even allows you to do some basic remix deck type stuff. But its coolest features are also the buggiest. So once again, we'll go with a 5. Now, averaging and rounding these scores lands us at a 6.25, and let me be clear, this is a great controller and I'm being intentionally picky on a lot of things. But I have to be harsh on certain aspects, especially things which are listed as selling points. But for beginner DJs who want to give this a try, the Hercules Universal DJ is a great choice. For those of you wanting to dip your toes in the water, this is a great unit to give it a go. All the basic DJ stuff is very easy and accessible, and Hercules holds your hand through the process of learning how to mix. The rest is just extras. But as for Bluetooth, can we just keep that out of the DJ booth?